I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, October the 18th, brought to you in part by the Night Latch Group. That's Andy Cunningham and family. They're officing and can help you anywhere you're at, but they're officing from Laverne, Oklahoma down to Lubbock, Texas. They can help you with all your ag risk policies supported by the USDA. Of course, they kind of focus and concentrate on the LGM, which is livestock gross margin policy, and they can show you how you can manage the risk on your cattle and your corn at the same time on feeding cattle, not just backgrounding cattle, but on cattle that you're feeding. For more information, go to nightlatch.net. Can't cover up demand. We didn't hear as much rumbling on Tuesday as we did on Monday in the country on the fat cattle trade. Of course, we haven't seen hardly any at all to speak of, but there was a lot more going around and looking and talking to prospective buyers and sellers on Monday, and they all showed that they were very aggressive. Almost your cattle feeders have decided that they're going to hold out for more money. Whether they continue to do that or not, we'll see. Your board was up some on Tuesday. It was actually closed lower on Monday, but it was up a lot more early in the day on Monday and then faded off. But Tuesday we saw some gains that held throughout the end of the session there. But like I said, your packers just tried to put all that demand back in their pocket on Tuesday, but it's not going to work. They tipped their hand. Some of the regional packers especially tipped their hand that they're going to be hungry for cattle this week, going to need to get some bought at Stockman's Livestock in Yankton. Your packers didn't tip their hand there too much. The trade was mostly steady there with last week, but I still think we'll get more for fat cattle this week. I think we're on a tear here to run through November with some seasonal demand as your packers prepare for the holiday demand for beef, because you get even early into December, which is quite a ways away yet, but you got to get through processing and all that kind of thing. But they'll be having Christmas parties and things like that, and that's a big demand for beef as people want to treat their employees right, and they're not going to do it with a chicken breast, guys. Our next hurdle is the cattle on feed report that comes out this Friday. We've seen the estimates now, and it looks like it could be a shakeup. I don't think it's going to be quite the ones that we've just swept under the rug here the last couple of months, but your on-feed inventories, October the 1st, the average of the analyst guess is 99.8. We would have thought maybe that it was a little bit less than that compared to a year ago. That runs almost right up to exactly how many we had last year. But you know, we can't argue with it. We can think that all we want, but then we're just a slave to whatever comes out. The thing that is puzzling is the placements for September come out at 101.6. You guys said, wait a minute, we waited so long to get to placement numbers that were less than 100, and then we thought they were going to get way down in the 80s. Not really. And you know, we got so many less cattle. How did we place 101.6? Well, it sounds like the analysts that do the guessing on this were thinking the same thing, because the range of guesses ranges from 95.9 all the way to 104.8. So there's a lot of room for error in there. Your marketings for September, of course, they're going to be disappointing because your packers have pulled back so much on your harvest, but 90.2 is all that is. So 2 o'clock on Friday, we'll see what the results of that are, and then we'll brace ourselves over the weekend like we always do to see what happens on the board on Monday. I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about my trip I took last weekend. I did a talk for St. Clair Beef Masters in El Dorado Springs, Missouri. Had a nice group there on Saturday morning there, and a lot of people very interested in what's going on. And my presentation was well received there. But I went down a little bit early so I could take in a Kansas City Chiefs game. I used to get to go to those all the time when I lived up in northwest Missouri, but I haven't been for several years. Enjoyed that. And then on Friday night, Went down and stayed with my friend Wes Spinks, lives in Jericho Springs, Missouri. But we went over to the 8-man football game in Lockwood, Missouri. And I'd heard of Lockwood, Missouri, but I'd never really been right in Lockwood, Missouri. Less than 1,000 people live there, but it's impressive how much trade they've got in that little community there. There are several ag manufacturing companies there doing all different kinds of things, including at least 3 major trailer manufacturers, stock trailers and the like. It's just amazing to me that so much of that covered the area, though. And then we went to the game, and I just saw person after person that I recognized and knew to be in the business. Were not familiar that they were connected to the Lockwood community there. But I was walking through there, and Kenny Ogden, who I've been around forever with the Ogden Angus Ranch, and then his son Trevin Ogden handles a jillion cows right in that area. That is cow country, guys. Saw Josh Spain. I've done a talk for him one time at one of his big chuck wagon races there, and he raises a lot of cattle there, kind of into the Wangus deal. But I did meet another one that I wanted to call out. His name is Joel Gray, and I got to meet him there, and he's a Feeder Flash gang member. He was there watching his son Roper, who wears the number 1. But Joel Gray, which Wes Spinks was pointing out, and I can understand, he is my audience member. He is my Feeder Flash gang member, focused on a guy that works hard every day. He's put together a pretty good cattle herd there, and really does it right, and has some of the fanciest cattle you'd ever want to buy as far as commercially there. And enjoyed meeting him, and nice to point him out here on the Feeder Flash. But talk about your MLS tubs. MLS has all kinds of tubs for all kinds of needs. If you're for more information about MLS tubs, go to mlstubs.com. That's easy enough. We like to spotlight distributors of MLS tubs, and your October distributor spotlight is Amite Co-op in Liberty, Mississippi. You guys down in that country can go there and get your MLS tubs. Talk about your board on Tuesday. October live cattle futures up 30 cents at 185.5. December up 32 at 186.87. Your back months were up closer, just up as light as 17 cents, but your farthest out month up as much as $1.12. October feeder cattle up 47 cents at 248.80. November up 52 at 250.45. Your back months on feeder cattle all up big, much bigger than the nearbys, from $1.02 higher to $1.30 higher. December corn, now that we're 45% done with harvest, that's a good feeling, and hasn't been too many disturbances there. Been pretty dry this fall here, which is helping out the harvest, but I know a lot of people would like to have some more moisture, but getting right through there, and I think it's turning out at least as well as what they had hoped. But December corn down a penny at 4.89. November beans up 10.5 cents at 12.96 3/4. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for December down 2 cents, 6.66 3/4 a bushel. Your fat cattle trade, we really haven't seen anything take place. As much stir as we heard on Monday. They're hiding most of it as per your Packers playbook. They're putting a trigger in there, so much over the market that happens this week, or they're throwing something in there that causes it to be a formula type deal, and then we don't see it in your negotiated trade, so it's not a live FOB or a dress delivered price. They try to keep those out of there, which I've talked about that many times about your Packers playbook. But the only thing that's squeezed through the screens here is Iowa sold 300 head confirmed on Tuesday early from 289 to 291. That's way up there at the top of the dressed price spread for last week. Nebraska 200 head all at 293. So that would probably be a little higher if we had some volume at that point. It would be quite a bit better, but just 200 heads not going to do it. Kansas and Texas, we have not seen any trade as of yet in those two areas. Stockman's livestock market in Yankton, South Dakota. My buddy Gary Marks was not there. He was off touring around South Dakota watching those big strings of fancy calves sell, and he said they were pretty impressive and most of them selling really well. But I talked to Greg Ryken. He said the conventional cattle were mostly steady from 181 to 183. The program cattle might have been a tick cheaper from 185 to 187. Some two-way cattle, some of the lighter ones, and maybe going back to feed, trading from 187 up to 191. Box beef cutout values were higher again for the second day this week. Kind of impressive that they held the levels that they achieved on Monday. Choice cuts up 47 cents at 305.14. Selects up $1.43 at 278.63. Your slaughter through the first 2 days of this week, just about par. 251,000 harvested estimation so far this week. That's 2,000 less than last week at this time, 1,000 more than the same week a year ago. If you're looking for fast and efficient cattle financing, look for Legend Bank. You can get a hold of them at Legend Bank. Talk to Greg Brooks or Ricky Taylor. They know cattle loans. That's what they do. And they know them to the extent that they're the top cattle lenders in North Texas. But they can help you in all of Texas and all of Oklahoma if you need some fast and efficient cattle financing from guys that know what's going on and understand what you're facing. They understand these new market levels and they understand these higher input costs. But Legend Bank is a member of the FDIC. All loans are subject to credit approval and they are an equal housing lender. For more information about Legend Bank, go to legend.bank. Talk about your feeder cattle markets, your real-time index on DVAuction. Late in the day on Tuesday, sitting at 244.59. That was up 52 cents. So we're back on the positive side. Your CME cash feeder cattle index has finally come back down to earth. Latest available was 246.83 after stubbornly hanging up there over 250, and had to have been something haywired with that because there was no way it could have held up there like that, but it did. Talk about your big sales on Tuesday. Ozarks Regional Stockyard in West Plains, Missouri. It's a DVAuction broadcaster. They had about 2,000 head through the ring, and then another 1,200 with their in-house video that they do every week seamlessly with help from DVAuction. The calves weighing under 7 sold $3 to $6 higher. Bigger feeding calves sold $2 to $4 higher. So a lot of demand there in Ozarks Regional Stockyard in West Plains, and everything was selling good. They had a particularly good in-house video there, and I wanted to show you these cattle that come from Carter Poultry and Cattle. You don't see that very often when you have a big fancy string of cattle like that. And the name of the outfit is Carter Poultry and Cattle, but in that part of the country it's not unusual. It was down in northern Arkansas, Melbourne, Arkansas. But these are Keneally genetics right here on both sides, top and bottom. These are weaned steers, home raised, 82 head of them. Knock your eyes out, diamonds in their ass. Weigh 690 pounds for November 10th through 20th delivery, and bring 281. If you guys like some of that, get a hold of them there, Ozarks Regional Stockyard, and you can have your cattle videoed, sell them on an in-house video right there, which they have every week. So about any time's a good time to get a hold of them there. Talk about some individual quotes from all around the country. How about Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma? My buddy Jeff Slatton does such a good job there, and he can sell them, guys. Had some big black steers there, 118 head of them, weighed 911 pounds, bring 245, weighing over 9, guys. How about Phillip Livestock Auction? Phillip the Giant, 77 steers, weighed 596, at $307.75. Now, I didn't see any strings of steer calves that weighed over 6 and bring over $3, but at Phillip, they had a lot of them just right up to that individual barrier, including those weighing 596 at $307.75. Then once you tipped over 6, nothing over $3. Kingsville Livestock Auction in Kingsville, Missouri, that's west central Missouri. Black heifers there, be a yearling type, 72 head of them, weigh 706, bring 265.50. Heifers, people, weighing over 7. How about Dickinson, North Dakota, the West Barn Stockman's Livestock Exchange there? They sell 58 little peewee steer calves, weigh 393 and bring 385.75, way up in Dickinson, North Dakota. But the most impressive quotes that I saw anywhere on Tuesday, your Mackerson, no BS, top quote for the day, comes out of Kimball, South Dakota at the Kimball Livestock Exchange, and it's the weighted average on all the 8-weight steers that they sold on Tuesday. Altogether, they had 450 head of 8-weight steers in Kimball, South Dakota, including all of them. They averaged 852 pounds with a weighted average price of $261.87. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.